Hey guys, Mr. Stanwood here. We are on lesson 5.1c, our third lesson in section 5, and our final one from section 1, and our final one from section 1, continuing with slope. We're going to find slope from 2 points. Our objective is to find the slope from 2 points and identify special slopes. There's 2 special slopes we got to be aware of. So here's a quick review about what slope is. If you need to pause it, we already shared this previously, but if you need to pause it, like I said, review it, feel free. So how can we find the slope if we don't have a graph? Well, the slope, as we talked about before, is the rise over the run. And the rise talks about the change in the y values, how high it goes up or down. The run is the change in the x values. This triangle right here, this triangle is a Greek letter called delta. And in math, delta means change. So if you think about it, have you ever flown Delta Airlines? Delta Airlines, it changes your location. What? Change Delta. See what I did there? Yeah. So anyway, this right here is common change in y over change in x, delta y, delta x. So in order to find the slope without a graph, we just have to find how much the y's changed and how much the x's changed, and we turn it into a fraction and we have our slope. So here is the slope formula. If we have an x and a y, we'll call one x1 and one y1, and the second point x2 and the second one y2. These little numbers are lower, they're subs, all right? They're dropped down. It's pronounced x sub 1, y sub 1. It's not an exponent, it's just to signify that this is our first point. This is my first x and my first y, this is my second point and my second y, okay? So the slope formula is pretty simple. It is y2 minus y1. All I simply do is I take my second y and subtract my first y, and then I take my first x and subtract my second x and subtract my first x, and that will give me some number of a fraction, and I got my slope. I got my rise, which is the change in the y's. I got my run, which is the change in the x's. That's all we need to do to find the slope from 2 points, is subtract our 2 y's and subtract our 2 x's. So let's take a look. See, so what's the slope of a line that passes through the point -1, 0, and 3, -2. So the first thing I really strongly suggest is identifying, this is my x1, this is my y1. This is my x2, this is my y2. Now it doesn't matter which one. If the 2 points happen to be switched, you would end up getting the same slope. I absolutely promise you. We want to remember the slope formula, which is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And now all I'm going to do is plug in my numbers. The reason I like identifying it is y2 goes first. My y2 is -2. My y1, oh, where's my y1? Where is it? Oh, there it is. It's minusing, great grammar. I'm subtracting away 0. Now I'm going to go to the bottom, x2, which is 3. I'm going to subtract away my x1, which is -1. Be very cautious. It's always subtraction, guys. Always a subtraction sign. So if the number is negative, I have to put minus a negative. So now -2 minus nothing gives me -2. 3 minus 1 gives me actually 4. And that will simplify down to 1/2. So the slope here is -1/2. All right, that was quick. You can go back, you can rewind if you need to, but now it is your turn. What's the slope of the line that passes through this? Go ahead, pause it, and figure it out. How we doing? What you get? Think you got it? Think you got the right answer? Let's see. Did you get -1? Perfect. 4 minus -1 gives me 5. -3 minus 2 gives me -5. Simplify that, that gives me -1. I have a slope of -1. Good job. All right, on to the special slopes. This is one special slope. It's a horizontal line. All right, a horizontal line. And if I think about this, I know we're back to graphs now, but my rise for a horizontal line, no matter where I put my 2 points, my rise is always 0, and my run is going to be whatever I need it to be. I chose 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 over anything is always 0. So here's the special slope. Horizontal lines have a 0 slope. You must remember that. A horizontal line has a slope of 0, a numerical value of 0. Special slope number 1. Special slope number 2, what do you think it might be? What type of line? All right, did you guess it? It's a vertical line. So a vertical line, all right? Rise over run again, just to kind of visualize it. My rise is going to be a number. This case, it's 1, 2, 3. But in this case, my run, I don't have anywhere to run. I don't go left, I don't go right. So my run is 0. You can't divide by 0. If you divide by 0, have you ever asked Siri what 0 divided by 0? She calls you a loser and says you have no friends and she eats all your cookies or something like that. It's really weird. But anyway, you cannot divide by 0, meaning you cannot have 0 in the denominator of something in math. It's undefined, meaning it does not exist. So if you have a vertical line, it's an undefined slope. There is not a slope. It's not a 0. 0 is the horizontal line. Vertical is where it's undefined. There is no slope, and that's why this is not a function. That's why we can use a vertical line to test if something's a function or not. This is not even a function. It's linear, but it's not a function. All right. So equations, real quick, of special slopes. The 0 slope down here, the 0 slope, which is a horizontal line, all right, it's always going to be y equals a number. There's no x. It doesn't matter what x is. There's no x value. If there was an x, it would be diagonal, but there's no x. It doesn't touch the x-axis. All right, that's a way to kind of remember. Y equals a number. The reason it's y equals 5 is because it goes through 1, 2, 3, 4, where y equals 5. Here on this line, y is always equal to 5. No matter what x is, what is y? 5. Similarly, for a vertical undefined slope, it's x equals a value. X equals, in this case, it happens to be -2 because it goes through where x is over at -2. It doesn't matter what y is. That never touches the y-axis. There's no y in it. It's x equals -2. X equals a constant. There's no y in it because it doesn't matter what the y is. It's a straight vertical line, straight up. So it's going to be x equals a constant. Here's a quick little just summary what a positive slope looks like. From left to right, it's going up. Negative, left to right, going down. Left to right for 0 is staying constant. 0 effort to climb that hill because they're not even a hill. Undefined, it's impossible to go straight up and down unless you're Spider-Man. Like me, I'm just kidding, my Spider-Man. Or undefined versus 0. Again, I'm really trying to make this point clear. Which one of these is undefined? Great, undefined goes to the right, 0 is to the left. Not always, but in this case. And that's it. Here's your work. When you're done, check with Mr. Stanwood for your mastery check.